The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on June 2nd, 2026.
It's time for Business Matters, brought to you by the Maui Chamber of Commerce. Other perspectives and programming on this station do not necessarily reflect the views, values, or positions of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, which is an independent and inclusive organization serving Maui businesses and the community since 1910. Now here's your host, the Maui Chamber of Commerce President, Pamela Tumpop. Good morning, Pam.
Good morning, Gary. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. It looks like it's going to be a rainy day today, I think. Aren't we expecting some rain?
We are, and it's a little gloomy up here. Not gloomy. It's just overcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything still looks beautiful and green, so lots to be happy for.
Exactly. Yeah, it rained all night at my house, pretty much. So.
Really?
Yeah, not a hard rain, but one of those nice steady rains.
Yeah, we like that. Nice
the
steady
good
rain.
kind of rain. The good rain.
The good rain. Well, that leads me right into our talk today. But thank you, Gary, for all you do for our show. We appreciate you, and you are a treasure. So thank you for that. And today, folks, speaking of rain, that's what we're going to talk about today. We are setting aside some of our other business topics to discuss something that impacts every single resident, every family, every nonprofit, every church, every school, farm, every business throughout Maui County, and that is preparedness. So yesterday, June 1st, Maui County announced that forecasters are predicting between 5 and 13 tropical cyclones in the Central Pacific Basin during the 2026 hurricane season. And hurricane season officially runs from June 1st through November 30th. So they're looking at 5 to 13 tropical cyclones. So just want to have you really grasp that because, while none of us know exactly what will happen this season, what we do know is that, we need to prepare. And Maui County officials, emergency management professionals, first responders, and community leaders are all encouraging us, this is the time to prepare, right? We had a little rain, maybe not all of us, but some of us had a little rain, and that's great. But we've also seen a lot going on recently with heavy rains. So, this is the time where we have to say not next month, not when the storm is approaching, not when we get the warning a couple days ahead of time. We need to think about this now. And there is another important message that really deserves our attention because following the recent flooding, Mayor Richard Bisson went across the county and was educating people. And he is now saying, and I wholeheartedly agree, as somebody who's been doing disaster preparedness for a while now, 14 days. So now we're not talking 3 days. Like we used to talk about a 3-day kit. And in fact, I used to teach people how to create 3-day kits. And then I said, and if you have a bigger family, you need to have multiple kits. But now it's not 3 days, it's not 5 days, it's 14 days. We're talking 2 weeks, okay? So this recommendation really deserves serious consideration. And here's why. Because we learned some very different lessons over the past several years. COVID taught us that we can have supply chains disrupted in a huge way with disasters. Flooding taught us that our roads can become impassable. And we saw many roads, we've had floods. I've lived in Maui for a very long time, 4 decades. We've had floods for a very long time. But we saw, with this recent flooding, and not just here statewide, just big damage to major roads. And we realized, okay, this is something that we really need to get a handle on. And then the wildfires taught us that disasters can overwhelm even the best emergency response systems, right? So during the Lahaina wildfires, we were very fortunate after that to receive tremendous support from FEMA, American Red Cross, state agencies, nonprofits, businesses, churches, volunteers from all across Hawaii, from the nation, right? People came in to serve, which was amazing. But the challenge now is, what we also learned is what happens if there's multiple disasters that occur at the same time. What happens if Oahu, Kauai, Maui, Hawaii Island, Molokai, and Lanai are all impacted simultaneously, which we saw with the flooding. What happens if hurricanes are affecting multiple states? And what happens if federal resources are stretched across several emergencies? So we, also saw that we did a really good job with the Lahaina wildfires and coming together. But this is a time now where we're seeing multiple types of disasters, and we need to prepare forward. So as we become more dependent on ourselves, right, is we start working with our families, our neighbors, our communities, right? That's where preparedness really happens and where it really matters. When we start uniting, and we start uniting not when the crisis hits, but we start preparing today. So my goal today is to walk everybody through practical actions that every family and business can take immediately to strengthen your readiness and your resilience. Because this isn't about fear. This is about understanding predictions, to being aware so that we are not caught off guard. Preparedness gives us confidence. It gives us peace of mind. It takes care of the people we love because we already have a plan in place, right? And that's really what's very important, is to look at this and say, okay, how do we move forward? How do we get ready? And how do we best address these situations when they occur? So when many people hear the word hurricane, they think about wind, right? They think about rain, but wind is often only one part of the danger. Okay, so, and we've seen this, right? We just went through a bunch of crazy rains, and we went through the Lahaina wildfires where we had the wind but no rain. So now we have to start looking at how do we prepare for the whole thing, right? And what are some of the consequences that come with these hurricanes? And so we know from what we've seen recently, right? Heavy rainfall, really heavy rainfall, to the point that the ground is saturated and can't take anymore, which then causes flash flooding and landslides and rock falls and road closures. And then we can have extended power outages and communication failures. We can have fuel shortages. We can have harbor disruptions, airport disruptions, supply chain disruptions, water system challenges, storm surge, coastal flooding, and wildfire risk. When the vegetation dries and the infrastructure is damaged, it creates hazards. So we've seen all that here in Maui, right? We've gone through this, but now what we need to do is prepare better. And that's the critical thing that we need to do. So let's think about what we recently experienced. The roads became flooded, businesses closed, some families became stranded, some communities were temporarily isolated. And now imagine that those conditions might last not only for several days, maybe a week, maybe longer. So that's why we're looking at really getting everybody geared up for preparedness. In addition to that, we learned many lessons from Lahaina. The wildfires changed our community forever. Many families lost loved ones. Many lost homes. Many lost their businesses. Many lost treasures that they have kept for generations. Many lost their pets, their support systems. And amid all of this tragedy, we also witnessed something extraordinary. What we witnessed was the very best of Maui. We saw our neighbors helping neighbors, businesses helping employees, businesses helping people across the island who needed help, employees still helping customers, churches opening their doors, nonprofits and other organizations stepping up, volunteers showing up from everywhere, people sharing food, water, shelter, transportation, and comfort. So that lesson needs to be crystal clear for us, that prepared communities recover faster. And learning from the lessons that we've just experienced over the past several years, we can be more prepared. And the communities, when we're connected before disaster, are stronger during disaster. So it's not simply about supplies, right? We all talk about these kits and gearing up and making sure you have supplies. And that's important. Don't get me wrong, really important. right? Because the more each of us take care of ourselves, the better off we all are together. But preparedness is about relationships. So as I say this, I really want you to think about this for a minute. How well do you know your neighbors? Who do you know that might need help? Who do you know that has medical needs in your neighborhood? Who might have mobility challenges? Maybe they're young, strong, and healthy, but maybe they just had a bad fall and broken arm or a leg. Or maybe they're elderly and need special attention. Who lives alone? Who might need transportation? Who might need extra assistance? Do you have a neighborhood phone tree? These are powerful preparedness tools that cost absolutely nothing. And I know from many stories I heard recently with the flooding that I got so many stories where people called and said, we're doing okay, and we're going through a lot with the flooding, but we got to know our neighbors in the process. So let's not wait. If every household is committed to checking on 3 nearby households, right? You go up a house or 2 to the left, up a house or 2 to the right. Imagine how much better prepared we'd be during an emergency when you know everybody and you understand their needs and they know you. So you don't have these awkward moments of trying to get to know somebody in an emergency. And we have great stories that when we started in our neighborhood in Pukalani, and some of it's because a lot of us have lived here on the same block for many, many years, and we've gotten to know each other. But several years back, we started a neighborhood watch because of some activity that was going on near the neighborhood. And out of that, we started having these neighborhood watch meetings, which brought people together, not just from our block, but from neighboring blocks to work together. And so when things like this happen, we all have these great connections, and you can too, right? And if we have these great connections, think about that what it means across Maui. And, for each island in Hawaii, what that means. And that kind of resilience, that's so important. But also, it's aloha in action. We're taking care of each other. We're planning ahead. We're getting to know each other and build relationships. So when things happen, we're prepared. So I want to talk to you about this 14-day challenge that I'm going to encourage you to do, right? Some of you may be thinking, Pamela, 14 days sounds like an impossible feat, but actually it's very achievable. You don't have to build your supplies overnight. I want you to start building them gradually. Let's start with water. Emergency planners recommend 1 gallon of water per person per day. So for a family of 4, that's 56 gallons for 14 days. Now that sounds like a lot, but when you buy 2 extra gallons every shopping trip, you'll build up your reserve quickly, right? Water is your number 1 priority. You can survive without many things, but you can't survive without water. Next comes food. Foods that require little or no preparation, right? That's very helpful. So we're talking about a lot of canned things, and not everything canned things. Of course, Spam, really important. Better low sodium Spam, by the way, but Spam, we can't live without it in Hawaii. Canned tuna, canned chicken, beans, rice, crackers, peanut butter, protein bars, peanut butter, almond butter, all the different butters, pick the one you like best. Protein bars, dried fruit, nuts, shelf-stable milk. Make sure you prepare for babies and baby formula, pet food, special dietary needs. Look for things that are, meet your nutritional needs, high in protein, high in vitamins, and things that you can have stored. Remember, store what you eat, but also eat what you store so that you're rotating your supplies. And as you build up, you just keep the rotation going. Okay? There's some key questions that we want every family to ask. So I just want to share a few today. If the floodwaters enter your neighborhood tonight, do you have sandbags? Do you know where they are? Do you know how to use them? Do you have enough water? Do you have enough food? Have you thought about your medications? Are you prepared beyond, just a few days to make sure that you've got medications full and ready? Can you care for your pets? Can you care for your kapuna? Can you care for your keiki? Is everything organized in one location? Are critical documents ready to go so you can take them with you? Does everybody know the plan? Have you communicated that? Like when the kids were in school and they would do the fire booklet and the safety plan, does everybody know? If your cell phones fail, how will your family communicate? If roads close, What other roads will you take to get out if you need to get out in a hurry? Where will you meet? Does everybody know a meeting space? If evacuation becomes necessary, what shelter are you going to go to? Are you familiar with where the shelters are near your neighborhoods? These are conversations we should have, not just this week, not someday, right? We should be having them on a regular basis. But let's start with this week. Let's get going and start there. There's many things that people often are missing from their emergency kits. So I want to go through the top 25 items most commonly missing from emergency kits before we move on, so that you start to realize how important it is to have your kits as complete as possible, right? In fact, in disasters across the country, emergency managers consistently find that people are missing some supplies that are critically important when conditions become difficult. So, number one, water storage containers. So you're going to have your water, but also, make sure that many people buy bottled water, but also what happens when those bottles are gone. So collapsible water carrier can be extremely valuable. Number two, prescription medications. Make sure that you have enough reserve when possible. So talk to your healthcare provider about that. Number three, copies of important documents, your insurance policies, your identification, birth certificates, medical information, property records, emergency contacts. Make sure that they're protected in waterproof containers and also stored digitally so you have backup, and make your digital storage part of your package, right? Because digital storage is great, but not if it's sitting in water. So think about your cash. If communication systems are disrupted, if credit card systems and ATMs don't work, make sure you have some cash on hand. Okay. Number five, backup phone charging systems. Portable battery banks can become lifesavers. So, there was a time when we all had those portable battery banks, and then it turns out our phone batteries last longer nowadays, and sometimes we don't have those anymore. So that's important to get. Number six, battery-powered or hand-crank radios. That means you've got reliable information, and many of those hand-crank radios often have portable chargers for your phone, so the outlets for the portable chargers. So that's really important. Seven, and some of those battery-powered hand-crank radios also have flashlights, but if yours doesn't, flashlights, and not just one. Get a flashlight so that every family member has a flashlight. Okay, and with that, of course, number eight is extra batteries. You need to make sure that you have the batteries you need and not just sitting in a cabinet where they might not be good when you need them. You want to make sure you're checking your batteries periodically and make sure that you've got a complete set for the tools you're going to need. Number nine is first aid supplies, not just bandages and pain relievers and antiseptic, things like allergy medications and personal medical necessities. Number 10 is work gloves. In these disasters, there's a lot of debris, and some of it's not good. So you need to protect your hands and make sure that you prevent injuries. Number 11, the N95 masks are best, but make sure you've got some masks. Flood debris, mold, ash, dust, damaged materials can create respiratory hazards. Number 12, sanitation supplies, disinfecting wipes. I recommend a lot of those. Garbage bags, soap, toilet paper, of course. Personal hygiene products, right? Bring your toothbrushes, your toothpaste. Make sure you have those available. Number 13, emergency contact lists. Okay, again, I mentioned that. Make sure you have those lists and put them in some sort of protective, big Ziploc bags, or, they've got plastic slips you can stick things in, or plastic folders. Put them in so they're protected and they won't get wet or damaged. Number 14, pet supplies. Okay, so you need your dog food or your pet food, medications, leashes, carriers, vaccination records. Because sometimes they're going to want vaccination records. If you go to a shelter, they need to know, or you've got to have them in carriers because they can't come in. And you can't have them just staying in the car. Number 15, comfort items for children, favorite toys, a blanket, a book, a game, something small, cards. It doesn't have to be, don't bring in the big Monopoly game board. Bring things that you can take with you that will help comfort your family and children. It'll help reduce anxiety significantly. Number 16, rain gear, ponchos that are lightweight and extremely useful, are readily available and inexpensive. Number 17, emergency blankets, small and expensive, and are work well and are surprisingly effective. You've got some that you can find that were great for outdoors as well. But blankets are very comforting and needed, and we need to make sure you're protected in various conditions. Number 18, multi-purpose tools. A simple multi-purpose tool, you can get those pocket knives that also have screwdrivers and other things in them. And of course, there's very more sophisticated things. But you can, those kinds of things are invaluable in an emergency. If you were a Boy Scout or I was a Girl Scout for many years, we always keep those things on hand, and we always have uses for them. Number 19, waterproof storage bags protect electronics, documents, medication, and valuables. Number 20, a fire extinguisher. Small problems can become a major disaster if not addressed quickly. We hope everybody has a fire extinguisher in their home. And we also, it's also good sometimes to have them in your car as well. Number 21, backup eyeglasses. Okay, you want to be able to see, so make sure you have some eyeglasses with you. And sometimes you leave them at home, so it's nice to have a spare pair and have that near your emergency kit or in it. Number 22, extra fuel for generators. And, make sure that your fuel is appropriately stored. And that's important because sometimes people leave fuel in their garage for a very long time. And sometimes something happens and you can have an explosion that way. So we don't want that. So make sure you know how to store fuel. Number 23, local maps. Here in the islands, we pretty much know our island very well. But if you're new to the islands, or if you don't know some areas where you may need to go or to take care of other people, it doesn't hurt to have some local maps, because if your phone is down and your GPS is not available, then you might need some backup. 24 is a family communication plan. Who will call whom? Where will you meet? What happens if you become separated? What is the plan there? How are you going to get to each other? So sometimes it's not just plan A, we'll all meet here, because if the place you plan to meet is not available during a disaster, good to have a couple plans. So, and make sure that they're well communicated. And number 25 is this really knowledge, right? Preparedness training, emergency planning, situational awareness. Think through all these things, because these are critical things. And the most valuable emergency response is often not something you buy. It's more about what you learn and how to use what you have. So if you're listening today, pull out your emergency kit this week. See how many of these 25 things are already there and the ones that you still need to add. So this is critically important. And with this, as we're talking about these storms, let's talk about protecting your home, right? Around the world, communities that experience flooding and hurricanes consistently do several things well, and they do it before the storm hits. Or if you're really late, you can wait till you get that notice, but then you got a lot to do, because you need to clean the gutters. You need to clean storm drains, trim trees. Maybe you need to take a tree down in advance so that it doesn't damage your home. Secure your outdoor furniture, remove debris, inspect your roof, check generators. Look at your fuel storage and make sure that it's safe and available, and how you think about how you're going to use it. Test your flashlights, charge your batteries, protect those documents we mentioned. Take photos of your home and belongings. You should do this on a regular basis. If you buy some new furniture or equipment, you should take a photo. If you've done roof repair or recently painted or made improvements, take a photo, because this matters when you're dealing with insurance issues. Make sure you have your insurance agent's contact information and a copy of your policy handy. And then remember that one afternoon of preparation is going to save weeks or months of recovery later. So keep looking at this and do this on a regular basis. Preparedness, I have a barking dog in the background. Excuse me if you can hear it. Preparedness becomes especially important when caring for vulnerable families. For kapuna, you need to keep your extra medications on hand. You need to maintain their medical record, so you have that, and have backup power plants for medical devices, and create some emergency contact lists. We're going to be right back and continue this discussion after a brief message.
We're back, Pam.
Hey, thank you, Gary. Okay, so we were kind of talking about taking care of some of our most, our population that is might struggle during these times. So our kapuna, we were just talking about some things for that. Again, for our keiki, games, books, snacks, favorite snacks, blankets, right? We want to reduce anxiety for our children. For infants, we need to think about things, of course, right? Infants, they're not using the toilet yet, so we need to make sure we have lots of diapers and supplies, formulas, bottles, baby food. Make sure we've got the things on hand that they can eat, right, at that very important time. Lots of clothes, because when children are stressed, right, they may soil their clothes. So make sure you have lots of clothes, blankets, and medications. For pets, 14 days of food, and plan enough for the pets. Water, medication, leashes, carriers, and vaccination records and things that we mentioned. So as we also look at this, I talked about this. This is a neighborhood project that we need to work on, right? We want to build neighborhood resilience and a neighborhood resilience network. So I want to encourage everybody, get to know your neighbors, create your neighbor list, have meetings, consider maybe a neighborhood watch. So you have got a reason, and your neighborhood watch can also be like your preparedness champions, right? Get to know who has what skills, get to know who has what equipment. I heard stories, and even stories within our family, right, where trees were down up in Kula, and family members were able to go cut those trees down and haul them off so that the road access that was blocking people from exiting Kula in one area, they could get around it, and until the county had time to get there. So, as you meet with and get to know your neighbors, you're going to learn about them. You're going to understand the kinds of things they're facing, but you're also going to understand who has what tools, what can we leverage together, right? And combine our resources to keep our community safe. And then, of course, if our community is safe, we're all better able to help others in need, right? So this is all about a system that starts within each family and expands outward. So we also want to talk about business preparedness, right? So business owners not only need to focus on their families, they need to focus on their employees and their business as well. So this is a time to start having conversations with your employees. Start asking things like, how will we contact our employees? How will our employees contact us? What if the internet service fails? What if power is unavailable? What if our building is inaccessible? What if key personnel can't travel? What if they have families in danger and need to take extended time off? Do we have backup copies of critical documents? Can payroll continue, right? Can our customers reach us? How will they reach us? How can we operate remotely? So businesses also need to have strong preparedness plans, right? Because when the business has these kinds of plans, just like all of us personally at home, they can recover significantly faster. And the faster they can recover, also means that their employees, it helps their employees recover. It helps people get back to critical systems and the work that they're used to, the process they're used to. I mean, so many people who after the wildfires haven't had the work that they counted on. It really takes a toll on their mental well-being. It takes a toll on their financial security. There's so many things that we want to help prevent. So that it's important that businesses too follow many of these same steps, right? They need to make sure that critical records are backed up. Stored copies are off, site. So stored copies are off site so that they have access to it. They can use a cloud system wherever possible. Not many of us have a huge cloud system at our home, but things are changing these days. Many of us use more online programs, so a lot more of our data is stored in the cloud. They need to review their insurance coverage. They need to photograph their assets. They need to have good documentation on how much inventory they might have had on hand. They too need to know their policy numbers, their agent's contact information. They also need ready cash reserves whenever possible, and importantly, they need to encourage their employees to also prepare in their own homes with their families, right? Because employees cannot focus on business recovery, nor should they be focused on business recovery while they're working to take care of their loved ones in crisis at home. So they have to focus on family first, like we all do, and so businesses need to have a preparedness plan. And of course, loyal employees always are there to help shore up the business when there's disasters. But family first And then we've got to work on taking care of all the other things. And that, again, means that we need strong plans. So this really is about, again, not saying, okay, doom and gloom, disasters are lurching. We may have these 5 to 13 storm issues, right? We might see big challenges. It's about preparing. It's about the power of our community. So, every disaster worldwide, the key thing that people learn is that communities recover together. Japan teaches us preparedness. New Zealand teaches us resilience. Florida teaches hurricane readiness. Louisiana teaches flood recovery, right? We've seen these other areas go through major things. And Maui has taught us aloha. Maui has taught us all of those things, but it has taught us aloha. And where we weren't prepared, we've been building resilience, okay? But we had aloha. We came together. Our communities were strong, right? We might not have the wealthiest communities, but we have strong communities. They are connected, very connected. They were organized, and we are going to be organized and prepared and caring because that's who we are and that's what we do, right? This is something this is not a next week, next month. This is something that we should be doing and preparing for right now. Excuse me. Gary said it might be bug, but the scratchy throat thing keeps lingering. So I apologize. This is something that, again, think about what we're saying today. Take steps because this is something that we need to start preparing. The season started yesterday. We've already we're seeing maybe a little rain, but more importantly, we've gone through as a community a lot and we've learned a lot. Okay. And this is a season that we're talking about regionally, just affecting our region. But we've all witnessed what's happening, not just across Hawaii. We've watched what's happening in other states, right? Many of our family members and loved ones live in other states. And many states are experiencing really extreme weather conditions, right? We were not alone with crazy wildfires. We are not alone with major hurricanes. We are not, and thankfully, we're not seeing snow and craziness that many other regions are. But what we need to understand is the broader the disasters, the more stressed our resources are. So, when we're dealing with this, please excuse me, as we're dealing with all of this, we can't just expect FEMA to be readily available and charge in. We were very blessed when the wildfires hit that they came very quickly and stayed quite a while, given the breadth of what we experienced. This is not, a FEMA program, an SBA program, a chamber program, a county program, right? This is a program that we need to create and begin at our home. We need to create this program. We need to sustain our families. And then we need to take our personal program and extend it and work with our neighbors and start small. Start with your block. Then maybe expand a block or two. Just invite people. Get to know each other, right? Build the resources. Create a list. What do we have collectively together that we could leverage, right? Think about, by the way, tarps. I mean, simple things like tarps. If a tree comes through your roof or goes through a window, do you have something ready? Are you ready? If you don't, who might? Who can rally and help you when things, just change very dramatically? So as you're getting to know your neighbors, you're building these systems. Once we've got our neighborhood covered, right? Then, and I know the county's working to do this, and we're going to all continue to work to do this. Then we're going to build within our communities. And we are the only tri-island county in the state, right? And as we build in our communities, then, right, we build in our county. then we focus on our entire county because we're leveraged, leveraged, wrong word. We are separated by water, and some of our communities are more challenged depending on different disasters than others. Molokai took a beating with the flooding, but as a community, we need to, and as a county, a Tri-Island county, we need to be able to join together. So as we extend out, we extend to our county, and then we work on statewide resources to be a part of a statewide solution as well. So all of these things are critically important. And I appreciate you listening today. I just want to say we're going to bring on a great guest today, Matthew Ridgway with Terminex. He is a service manager, and he's going to be joining us, and we're going to talk about home solutions as well for pests, a different kind of pest. But while we bring Matthew on, I just want to let everybody know this is a lot of information to take in. But I want you to know that this broadcast goes to YouTube and Spotify. It's easy to find, okay? You just search Maui Chamber on YouTube or Spotify. It's going to take a couple days before it's up, but it will be up in a couple days. But take some of what you learned today, start the conversations today, and then you can go to Maui Chamber's YouTube or Spotify channel and listen again. So you don't have to take crazy notes. You can just go back and take those notes and work on your plan from this broadcast and get started. Okay? And that's the key thing. Get started. So while Gary gets Matthew on, I want to let you know a little bit about Matthew Ridgway. He is a service manager with Terminex, and he's going to talk to us about what homeowners should be watching for this season, this bug season, new technology and equipment being added locally, and how pest control services are evolving to better protect families and properties. So Matthew is the amazing service manager right here at Terminex, which is in Wailuku. He is originally from New Jersey and has lived in Haiku with his wife and 2 sons for the past 5 years. He's also been involved in sales, consulting, and business and consumer services for over 30 years. And he is dedicated to pest management and professional services as a service manager with a strong focus on customer service, team leadership, and modern pest control solutions. He takes great pride in helping to deliver safer, healthier environments for families and businesses through innovative pest control technology, responsive service, and a customer-first approach. So it's summertime now, and we're seeing all sorts of things. Swarming insects, pests. Sometimes you see more pests after flooding, right? Things are starting to become more active around homes and businesses, and we're thrilled as we're dealing now with warmer temperatures and more pest pressure to have Matthew on with us today. So good morning, Matthew. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Pam. I'm doing terrific. I can't thank you enough for such a lovely introduction. How are you today?
I am excellent. We are focusing on preparedness, and that means our home, too. So I'm excited to have you on this morning.
Well, I appreciate you. It really is the right time of year to talk about insects and bugs. The amount of activity due to the change in weather and the amount of rain, et cetera, has really boosted activity, and we are as busy as we have ever been.
I can only imagine. Well, and you, in being busy, your local office has also added new TAP. I'm going to have you explain TAP, but TAP insulation equipment, portable heat treatment systems. I did get to see that, which is super cool, and several new fleet vehicles. So for the listeners who may not know what all of this means, how do these investments directly benefit homeowners here in our community to have them here on Maui on site?
Well, Terminex, as the corporation that it is always investing in new technology. So we've found that certain products like the TAP insulation, which is an insulation product that, of course, is added to your attic, and it adds a top-down protection for the home against bugs and nesting insects and things of this nature, as well as the heat product we do, which kind of is a limited substitution for fumigation. And what I mean by that is with our heat product, we can zone off a very specific section of your home if it has a termite infestation, let's say the kitchen cabinets, and we can zero in on that area and apply the appropriate amount of heat for about 24 hours. resolve the termite issue without inconveniencing the homeowner with the 3-day process of standard fumigation, which all the termite companies have to follow. So with heat, it just gives us an opportunity for a more localized treatment that's less intrusive to the homeowner and yet has great effectiveness for resolving the problems.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And then I heard that the tap insulation equipment also not only improves attic efficiency, but helps control pests from borate, from having to use borate-based protection built directly into the insulation, or you use borate-based protection built directly into the insulation. Tell us about that, how it helps.
Yeah. Borate is a naturally occurring chemical that is a negative consequence for termites and insects. And so the insulation is treated with the borate. So when any insects have the opportunity to enter that space of the attic space, maybe through a puka that's been exposed or rotted away or something like that, that insulation is going to actually pierce their exoskeleton the most microscopic way, and which will cause them to dehydrate and expire. So it's a very simple, non-strong chemical, I should say, innocuous way to control insects and termites without really having to lift a finger once it's applied. So it just sits there and protects you the whole time, besides keeping your air conditioning in your house, which of course is going to reduce your electrical expense over the summer.
Yeah, I really like that because I love that you get it's a 2-for-1. You get pest control and you get additional insulation in your attic, which helps your air conditioning work better, and you get energy efficiencies, which is phenomenal. So also, though, talk about that borate-based pest control component. Talk about the different types of pests that it's going to help with, because there's a long list.
Yeah, ants, which will travel up and down the home structure. Obviously, it's going to help control ants. It's going to control roaches. It's going to control silverfish. And lots of people have been seeing silverfish issues this year with the added humidity and moisture. And then it's really going to knock back the other crawling pests that enter through the attic space. A lot of homeowners like the idea of improving the comfort in the home while also adding another layer of protection at the same time. So it's really valuable in warm climates where attics can be a major source of heat and pest activity.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I just think you guys are coming up with such extraordinary solutions. And you also expanded to a portable heat treatment system and a piece of equipment. Tell us a little bit about how that heat treatment is becoming such an important tool in the pest control industry these days.
Well, heat treatment is growing because it can be extremely effective for certain pest situations. With specialized equipment, we can bring the heat to you. We're able to raise the temperature in a target area to a level that pests simply cannot survive in. It's especially useful for things like bed bugs and certain drywood termite situations. Homeowners appreciate having the alternatives depending on the situation. Heat treatments can often reduce downtime, allow targeted control, and the added equipment also means we can take on larger multiple projects with more efficiency and without long-term wait times.
And is that the same equipment that I saw at your facility a while back, where you could take, say, a bench or a piece of furniture that the termites were eating, and you put that in and get heat treatment, and it would kill the bugs right in the piece of furniture equipment right there on site? Is that the type of treatment we're talking about?
It is. So we will take industrial-sized heaters and do a heat treatment inside a resident's home in certain situations. But other times, people may find that they purchased a piece of furniture or there's a keepsake in their home that's of limited size, but it has termites or some other type of like powder post beetle that's destroying it. They can bring that product to our office here in Wailuku, and we have basically about an 8x8 chamber that I have 4 separate heaters hooked up into, and I will take that piece of furniture or that keepsake and put it in my chamber for 24 hours, bring the temperature up, cook the insects out while not harming the piece of furniture or the keepsake itself. And then when the customer comes back, I can return their product to them bug-free. They can bring it back into their home without any hesitation. And it's a real nice way to safely preserve valuables that are consistently under attack here on the island.
It is. I mean, we see so much attack on so many different levels, and you folks are providing tremendous services for our entire community. Tell people a little bit more about Terminex and how they can get a hold of you if they're experiencing these pest challenges these days.
Well, I appreciate that. For the team here, it's really about service, value, and trust. We all take the approach that every home that we're going to work on, we're going to approach it much like we own that property. What would we do that we feel is best to protect our own value? And we're going to do that for our customer. We're not going to spare any expense or effort in that way. And with that, we know that in all truthfulness, good isn't cheap and cheap isn't good. We're going to deliver the proper service. We're going to give you the proper time, and you're going to receive the proper resolution. And we're going to stand behind our work. If anybody would like to speak with me more, or Andrew, my sales manager here on the island, the phone number is 808-661-9943. That's 808-661-9943. Give us a call with any of your questions regarding pet or insect situations. We'll happily give you a free consultation and see if we can't guide you through the process.
I love that. Yep, this is the time. It's pest season, so this is the time. And I so appreciate you for being on the show today, Matthew. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate the education. And again, pest control, something that we need to think about year-round. Keep the pests under control, and then our lives are so much easier. So thank you for joining us, Matthew. I appreciate you. I hope you have a blessed Maui day.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate you and Business Matters and everything you do for us here on the island.
Oh, thank you. We'll talk soon. Look forward to seeing you again.
Aloha.
Well, folks,
have a wonderful day.
Aloha. Thank you. You too. So again, now we've learned a little bit about some pest control things and things that we need to consider. That's also very helpful. I can tell you, we've been seeing an increase of pests after the rains for sure at our household. And so it's one of those things that, again, it's also nice to have a backup pest control and have a great pest control service provider at hand to keep that phone number on hand, because you know what the thing is? When you get pests, you want them taken care of right away, right? You want somebody who's going to be able to come out and take care of them right away so that your home is clean and safe and protected, and that's very important. So I also just kind of want to take us back a little bit in kind of closing this out today. What we're really talking about is preparedness. And again, I want to leave you with a challenge, right? We talked about the 14-day challenge, and again, that's what everybody is saying we need to start preparing for. And I'm one of those people who takes such advisement to heart. I hope you are too, because this is a time when this is a significant number of storms, 5 to 13 big incidents that could happen. And we're going to say could, right? We don't know. Some years we've really lucked out. Other years, not so much. So, but the key thing is we need to be prepared. So this week, just make a quick thing. I just want you to do one thing this week. Well, it's not one thing. One group of things that I'd like you to do this week. Buy some extra water. When you go to the grocery store, buy some extra food. I'm not saying buy, enough for 14 days for the entire family. Just start. Check on your medications, right? Start talking with family about your evacuation plan. This is a 30-minute conversation. Start thinking about how you prepare for your pets. Have you called your kapuna this week? Have you talked to your children? Not just maybe those here on Maui, but maybe your children abroad. Because if we have a disaster here and they're on the mainland, or families on the mainland, they're going to be wondering about us. So let them know you've got a plan. Meet one new neighbor and get to know somebody. Take a quick look at your property. Maybe take some pictures. And think about your backup plan for your records. If every listener today updates their emergency preparedness kit, reminds their family and employees about their emergency plans, and helps just one additional household prepare or even think about preparing, the resilience of our entire community increases dramatically. Preparedness is one of the greatest gifts we give our families, our neighborhoods, and our community. And preparedness is one of the most powerful expressions of aloha. I appreciate you joining us today for Business Matters. I hope you'll tune in again next week. In the meantime, stay informed. We're getting all those great MEMA announcements letting us know about our emergencies. We just had on the 1st, our monthly alarm checks, siren checks. So be prepared, stay informed, be ready, get connected, take care of one another, and just continue the planning so that you're ready if something occurs. Blessings and aloha, and I wish you a wonderful Maui week. Ahui ho.